So Rinche is my latest novel. It is a superhero story in the tradition of Joaquin Murrieta, Zorro, and Batman. So this novel challenges the Lone Ranger story in lots of different ways, and it is a superhero story to give, basically a Chicano superhero in a time of great strife, which is the early 20th century. And so this story turns the narrative on its head of the Texas Rangers were heroes. The premise of the book is certainly that, to set up the battles or the fight that was happening here 100 years ago, where the Rangers were terrorizing the local populations and stealing the lands from the Mexican landowners. And so this offers a hero character to be introduced into this time. It's centered around real history of the Rio Grande Valley. A real history that happened 100 years ago, where we're looking from between 1905 and 1920. There was a large shift in population where the railroad was completed and brought down what they call the second wave of Anglos. And these Anglos came down to bring down American business and to change the landscape from a ranching community, which is what it really was, to an agricultural, and make it more corporatized. And so in order to do that, they had to push out the Mexican ranch owners that lived here. So what they had at their disposal was the office of the Texas Rangers. And so these Texas Rangers were hired to terrorize, lynched thousands, I won't say thousands, but hundreds of Mexican Americans. They killed thousands. They estimate from between 1910 and 1920, about 5,000 Mexican Americans were killed. That's what we know of in numbers, because a lot of this history is unrecorded. And so a lot of the stories that come out in the book are stories that are taken from survivors. Stories have been passed down from my grandfather from generations. And a lot of history that's now being recovered about what happened during that time. The character Rinche actually doesn't appear until the middle of the book. For the first half of the book, Choni is really much filled with vengeance. And he doesn't realize what his actions are. And so when they have this encounter where they actually kill a couple of Rangers, and the retaliation is the lynching of a family. And he comes across that, and he realizes at that point that those methods aren't going to work. And so from that is where he comes up with this idea of, because he is light-skinned, because he has green eyes, that he can pass as a white, and so he puts on the Texas Ranger garb and becomes this kind of mystical character that's a ghost, so that when the Rangers don't know who's actually attacking them. This character protects the community in a way, because he becomes basically a white man. And so they're not necessarily focusing on the community anymore, and it takes that away. So he becomes a mystical character, but he's also, in a lot of ways, he carries two swords, ninja toe. He has shuriken, which are throwing stars. He moves in and out of the shadows. It's all these ninja skills that make him seem more ghostly, more mystical. And there are these two characters who, the older Mexican characters, who kind of figure out who he is, but they keep it secret, and then they tell the rest of the community, and they're the ones who spread the idea of the name of El Rinche through corridos, which is also in the book, about who he is. And so there's a whole lot of different angles, but that's kind of, that is what the persona is. It becomes this kind of ghost character.